you believe, Father John, don't dodge the bullet like the Matrix, whether Jehovah's Witnesses can die and be saved as practicing Jehovah's Witnesses? Yes or no? Simple question.
I wouldn't say that it's impossible, because I think that's God's judgment. I mean, obviously they have heretical beliefs, but I don't think that whether someone's saved or not is whether they can pass, get 100 on a quiz on theology on the day of judgment. I think it's a matter of, are they responding to the light that they've been given? And, God's the one that has to judge that.
Yeah, I'll say simply to rehash what we already said before, heretics damned. Each individual heretic, give the name. I couldn't tell you. Trajan's in heaven. He was a pagan. He persecuted Christians. We leave that to God.
Right.
It appears that Father John and Craig Trulia deny the Orthodox doctrine. Outside the church, there's no salvation. And what we have with Craig's statement is basically a contradiction, what I call theobabble. He contradicted himself. He spoke out of both sides of his mouth. On the one hand, he says heretics are lost, something to that effect. You just heard him. And on the other hand, he says he really doesn't know for each individual heretic, something to that effect. You just heard him. So which is it? Is there salvation outside the church or not? And Craig should know better, because he had Father George Maximov in a video where Father George, explained the situation. There's no salvation outside the church, and he explained the story of the Emperor Trajan to Craig. Craig should know better. This story of the Emperor Trajan appears over 100 years after St. Gregory's death in England. Okay, St. Gregory was a Pope of Rome. So this story is not, as Father George explained, it's not on the same level of Scripture and the teachings of the Ecumenical Councils. It doesn't have that level of certainty. Okay. And also, I don't know if Father George mentioned this, but I'm saying it. If I'm not mistaken, the story says that Trajan was forgiven. It doesn't say he was saved and granted access into heaven, so it's possible he's still in Hades but not suffering torment. Okay, so the Orthodox can be quite confusing and contradictory and ambiguous. And Father George Maximov has a doctorate in theology, and I will link to his discussion with Craig Trulia. And Father John, in another place, he put forth this idea that sincerity saves. This is a modern idea, I think. He says something to the effect that he has seen Jehovah's Witnesses who he thought were sincere, giving the impression that he believes they can be saved. This is ridiculous. It's assuming sincerity is all that is adequate. And I think that's an idea held in the Vatican II religion. Okay, so I think this is a modern idea. If a person is sincere, God will give them the grace to encounter orthodoxy and the grace to perceive its truthfulness, and they will convert. If a person dies as a Jehovah's Witness, it is because they were not sincere in their lives. Okay? You die a Jehovah's Witness, you are damned. And for those of you out there who are not very familiar with Jehovah's Witnesses, they were classified as a cult by the late Dr. Walter Martin. They deny the deity of Christ, the Trinity, his bodily resurrection, and they believe that Jesus is God's first creation and that he's the Archangel Michael. They are so far gone and heretical. There's no chance of salvation for them. Okay, they are damned if they die Jehovah's Witnesses. So look at my article, outside the church there's no salvation. Father George Maximov has a doctorate in theology. He gives the Orthodox position. There's no salvation outside the Orthodox Church. And Father Patrick Ramsay also has a doctorate in theology, and I will quote him in the description to this video. He agrees with Father George Maximov. So look at my information. Craig and Father John are wrong here, and I'll go ahead and end this video.